All right. It does seem like some of our numbers are starting to level off, so we can go ahead and get started this evening. Hello and welcome. My name is John Fromm. I use he, him pronouns, and I'm Associate Director of Admissions here with WashU. I'm excited to talk to you a little bit more about WashU and hopefully, uh, for some of you, maybe many of you, you are thinking WashU may be one of your top choices. And so I hope that this can help as you are navigating some of those final decisions or maybe getting some of those additional questions answered. So I'm going to run through a presentation with you all to talk a little bit more about what next steps might there be, ways that you can learn a little bit more about us. I'm also joined by some of our current students as well as some of my colleagues. So feel free to use that Q&A feature throughout the time here. So we will be utilizing that Q&A to answer questions throughout the time and to save some of those questions to ask of our student panelists. For the sake of time, because I know that for these types of programs, we often have a lot of questions because the people you really want to hear from are those that are with me, our students. And so I'm going to start the presentation here. And one second. All right. So once again, welcome to WashU, and congratulations again on your admission to our university here in St. Louis, Missouri. Many of you may have been thinking about WashU initially, or one of those first things you were thinking about are those academic opportunities. And each of you, through the application process, have told us which of those divisions, those academic areas you're excited to explore. And each of you has been admitted into one of those specific undergraduate divisions. And over the summer, you'll have an opportunity to start working with your four-year advisor. You'll start that collaboration with them through your course registration and selection for that first year, but they're going to be with you all 4 years of your time at WashU, and they can help answer many of the different questions that you may have around that WashU experience. Once you arrive at WashU, you'll have until your second year on campus before you need to declare a primary major, which will be in that first academic division that you were admitted into. Once you've declared that major, or maybe you've also decided you're going to embark on one of our pre-professional tracks, you're going to get additional advisors for those programs as well. You may ultimately decide to add another area of study. Maybe you want to do a second major, another minor, doing that pre-professional track. 75% of WashU students are pursuing more than just one program of study, and you can do that within your division, or you can take classes or explore outside of that division. There are over 2,000 courses offered a year, over 100 different areas of study across those 5 different divisions. But what's true university-wide is that your average class size will be about 24, and all of your classes will be taught by full-time faculty who are usually the experts and leaders within their fields who are excited to not just work with, but to lead undergraduate students in discussion, in dialogue, in discovery, and in excitement. Some of those professors may also be faculty fellows who are resident or who are faculty members who live in our residence halls. So you would see them in your spaces. It helps to help break down any mental or perceived barriers that may exist. That's going to help you engage with them both in and outside of the classroom. They'll live in those residence halls with their families, maybe their pets, their kids, so you can see them during that time. But speaking of that residential experience, that is one of those hallmark experiences at WashU. All of our first year students, including you, would live in an area of campus called the South 40, which is the south side of campus. It's 40 acres large, and it is purely a residential area. WashU is consistently named one of the top schools by Princeton Review for our housing. And the South 40 is its own little neighborhoods. It has a fitness center, it has dining facilities, it has a small market, a technology center, meeting rooms, intramural spaces, basketball courts, volleyball courts. It's all over there. And when you are going through the process of applying for your housing, you'll see that you have multiple options to choose from. While all students will live in the South 40, there are 2 primary styles of housing that you could choose from that you can see different layouts on in the Residential Life websites. You will also, through that living experience, have additional support and mentorship through your residential college directors, your residential advisors or RAs, your WashU student ambassadors or WUSAs, and really other upper level students who have the opportunity to mentor and engage with you as a first year student as you transition to and through your time at WashU. You'll also have some professional level support with the office known as Student Transitions and Engagement, who are also located on the South 40 and provide support for all of our incoming students throughout the entire first year. One of their hallmark programs is that orientation that leads into the first from, going to the zoo or the symphony to learning more about what types of opportunities exist on our undergraduate campus. The picture on the bottom right is from one of our traditions known as First Day. This takes place in the underpass, which is painted all different types all throughout the year, and it's a big celebration on that first day of class. So these students were celebrating their first day of college, but similarly, students will celebrate their last first day of college during that first day. Outside the classroom at WashU, you'll also have a lot of opportunity to grow, explore, and engage. We are consistently named one of the most beautiful college campuses. I'm, of course, going to be biased there. I would have to agree. I'm quite fortunate that that's where I get to go to work every single day. But WashU is also a place that you can easily get involved and make an impact. You'll have access to over 400 different clubs or organizations, and our student union has a $4.6 million budget to help support these existing groups, but also to help new groups get off the ground. So maybe you want to get involved in our Division III varsity athletics, maybe one of our 12 a cappella groups, different major cultural or affinity-based groups like the Association of Black Students or the Asian Multicultural Council are great ways for students to find smaller communities within WashU's larger community of students with similar passions, interests, values, and ideas to really come together. We also have research that's happening really all across our campus. No matter which department you find yourself in, you will have research opportunities. Maybe you want to get involved in faculty-led research that's researching early Alzheimer's detection opportunities. Maybe you're looking at population growth in urban planning through a lens of architecture and design. But you could also work with that Office of Undergraduate Research to help pursue your own independent research or pursue your own passions along the way. You could get involved in entrepreneurship. We are in St. Louis, one of the fastest growing cities for startup culture. And through our Student Entrepreneurial Program, or STEP, students have an opportunity to open and operate their own business on our campus. It's in the residential area on the South 40. So you would walk past those businesses or those storefronts as you're making your way to and from class every single day. It's also important for us that our students understand that we are both in St. Louis and for St. Louis. And so our students are getting back and getting involved in the St. Louis community. We see engagement as an important part of that student experience. And so whether that's volunteering at a local school, maybe you're doing voter registration campaign, maybe you're joining our Civic Scholars program through the Get Part Institute. Our students care deeply about the communities that they're a part of and the world around them, and they want to learn more about it during that time. I also want to talk a little bit about St. Louis. It's in our name. We want you to know a few things about us. We want you to know where we're at, Washington University in St. Louis. We want you to understand that in St. Louis and for St. Louis piece as well. But St. Louis is such a fantastic city. It's unique, it's historic, it's growing. I'm actually joining you tonight on this webinar from one of the buildings pictured there in the upper left, where the Gateway Arch is, which is just under half a mile from where I'm at right now. But everyone's going to get a free Metro Pass. You can easily get to everything on your screen here and more using that Metro. We have both a light rail train system and public bus network. There's over 3 million people in the St. Louis metro area, but there's not necessarily one center of activity. Our city is made up of 79 distinct neighborhoods. So maybe you are going to head to the Shaw neighborhood, Botanical Heights, to go to the Botanical Gardens. Maybe you're going to go the Delmar Loop, home to Blueberry Hill, just north of our campus, or you want to go to Soulard, to one of my favorite farmers markets throughout St. Louis. But what's important is that you're doing that exploration. A bit of trivia, St. Louis was home to the 1904 Summer Olympics, which was the first time the Olympics happened in this hemisphere. Not only was it held in St. Louis, some of it was actually on our campus. So you'll find Olympic rings as well as some Olympic landmarks throughout the city. The community that we have here at WashU is one that is diverse and inclusive, collaborative and creative. Our students aren't afraid to ask big questions, to discover their passions, to make their communities better, not just for themselves, but for everyone. But there's no better way to get to know our students than by actually hearing from our students. So I'm going to go ahead and have our students introduce themselves, of the students that will be on the panel. So we're going to start off. I think Teddy is up first. Teddy, you want to kick it off?
Sure. Hello. My name is Teddy. I'm a sophomore. I use he, him pronouns, and I am double majoring in architecture, which is in the Sandfox School of Design and Visual Art, and public health and society, which is in the College of Arts and Sciences. I'm from New Jersey, and I'm excited to chat with y'all today.
Thanks for being here, Teddy. And next up, I got Shanze.
Hi everyone, my name is Shanze. I'm a junior from Edina, Minnesota. I'm studying biomedical engineering in the McKelvey School of Engineering, and I'm also minoring in mechanical engineering and biomedical data science. And it's really nice to see you all.
Then we have Daniel.
Hi, everyone. I'm Daniel. I'm a sophomore in the College of Arts and Sciences, studying secondary education and history. I'm originally from Kirksville, Missouri, which is a small town in the Northeast area, and I use he, him pronouns.
And then, of course, we have Morgan.
Hi everyone, my name is Morgan. I use she, her, hers pronouns, and I'm from Memphis, Tennessee. I am double majoring in organization and strategic management and marketing in the Olin Business School and minoring in psychological and brain sciences in the College of Arts and Sciences. And that is a mouthful, but I'm really excited to have you all here. Congratulations.
You'll have a chance. So if you have questions for them, please feel free to use that Q&A feature. And if you're like, hey, you keep talking about this Q&A feature, I can't see it on my screen, you may need to click the More button in the bottom right of your screen to identify that. Before we get to the Q&A portion, a few more housekeeping related things. Would absolutely encourage you to check out the other programs that we have going on. We have our Bear Days coming up in person, April 10th, 13th, and 17th. You can find more information for these Bear Days on your admitted student portal. We're also going to be sending more standard or regular emails, kind of weekly, week at a glance emails, so you can see what type of events or programs we have coming up, in addition to other opportunities to learn more about WashU and our communities through a series of additional webinars. Oh, here's that information on accessing and getting to that admitted student portal. So when you log into your WashU pathway, which is where you saw that initial admissions decision, if you haven't already, be sure to tell us your t-shirt size so we can send you that t-shirt. And then you can access that admitted student portal on the right using that direct link. For students who have decided, absolutely, WashU is the place that I want to be. That's where I want to go this fall and spend my next 4 years. One, congratulations, exciting. And two, here's the next steps. So by May 1st, students would need to complete their acceptance and enrollment form via that WashU pathway. You would also have the information sent to you for setting up your WashU key and password, which would give you access to your email. If you applied for and received a financial aid offer, be sure to accept that as well. And then, of course, submit your housing and meal plan forms as well, which if you've already placed your deposit, you have not gotten those forms yet, they should be coming out in early April. Connect with us on Zeme and social media. So if you scan this QR code, it will take you to our WashU 30 community on Zeme if you haven't already done so already. Those summer advising sessions are what I was referring to when you would meet with your four-year advisor and register for those classes. So be on the lookout for more information on that. And then get ready for orientation. A lot of additional information will come directly from our student transitions offices in relation to orientation and all the programming there. but would encourage you to stay connected with us on social media, see what else is going on both on campus and around. April's a very exciting month, not just for all of you, but also for all of us who are excited to meet another entering class at WashU, as well as celebrating the end of our semester. We've got Wild coming up at the end of April, which is our big annual concert series. We've got 13 Carnival. We've got Reunion coming up. We've got all these Bear Days. If you find yourself in St. Louis in April, come on by, come check us out. We'd love to share more about who we are. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen so I can better see what's going on, because right now I just see a presentation and hopefully that was going well. But I'm going to go ahead and transition into some of the Q&A portion immediately. I have a great question here. Because so many students are pursuing more than one area of study, how much added time do you think an additional major or minor would add to your program?
I can start speaking to that. I can speak to that specifically within the Olin Business School. So both of my majors are within the Olin Business School, which made it super easy for me to double major. All of the prerequisites for each major are the same. So Olin has a core curriculum that has you take Management 1000, Management 150, or introductory business courses, and then a plethora of different classes like microeconomics, managerial statistics, all of that good stuff. And those are all of the prerequisites for any major there, and then you are required to take the first class of every single major there, so you get a really well-rounded business education, which is really awesome. And it also gives you the chance to explore and like maybe you don't know if you want to double major in something. Personally, I didn't know that I wanted to double major in marketing until I took that first class in marketing, and I absolutely loved it, and I added my second major, which was so easy to do because it was just a 12 extra credits, which is the equivalent of 4 classes. So that's how it works in Olin because you've already taken those prerequisites. So for me, it was super easy. And I'm currently a second semester senior, and I'm taking a very light load this entire year because I didn't have as many credits left, which is really awesome. So I got to focus on the nitty-gritty different electives that I was able to take. So that's how it works in Olin, and I would totally recommend it.
Yeah, from a different point of view. So I double major in two different of our academic divisions. So the first, my primary is in Sam Fox, and my secondary is in the College of Arts and Sciences. And so what's interesting about mine is that they're completely disconnected, completely opposite of Morgan, which is really cool. So I started out primary as an architecture major, and then I learned about the public health and society major. It came out actually just this past fall, but some of the prereqs were announced last year. So I took one of the classes and I absolutely loved it. And I really wasn't sure if I could do it, but I reached out to an advisor in the program and they're like, let's definitely try. So I've picked it up as a second major. It's a little bit more on my course load because they're so different. But I think just because I love it so much, I'm super happy to take on a little bit extra of a load to get a wider breadth of my education.
I just want to real quick add something when it comes to double majoring. It's the fact that you do get 2 advisors, which makes it really accessible, especially if you know from an early time that you want to double major. I know I came into WashU knowing that I wanted a major in secondary education and history, so I've been working on mine since my first semester here. But once you declare your major, which you don't have to do until your sophomore year, you'll get an advisor and you don't have to meet with all of them because we get a lot of advisors at WashU. I have like 5 and I've been here for 2 years now. But what's really great is that you can go talk to them and they can answer pretty much any question under the sun. And they're amazing people who are genuinely invested in like your finishing the program in the amount of time that you're allotted.
Thank you for speaking on that. I think you all provided a different point of view, but it boils down to the fact that you can absolutely double major. We try to make it as easy as possible at WashU. I would say the 2 programs that probably don't work well together are architecture and biomedical engineering done side by side. I don't know if you've ever met anyone who wanted to do both of those. I've actually met one student who told me they wanted to do that, and I hope that they're doing okay right now. And I hope that they found somewhere that allowed them to do both. Another common question we're getting is, could you share a little bit more about your first year experience, particularly what type of housing did you live in and what was that like?
I can go first. So I lived in the Thomas Elliott residential community, which is one of our modern residential communities, and I lived in a modern double. I picked my roommate whenever I came here to WashU. We met online on Instagram and just kind of chatted the entire summer before our housing application was due. And it was honestly a really nice building. I kind of miss it sometimes because we had two bathrooms in our suite, which was really nice. I will say that like we got a pretty lucky end of the deal when it came to our assignment in Thomas Elliott. But like I loved my suite. I'm still living with some of my suite mates from last year. We get along really well. And then just overall, like my first year experience, I'm in the College of Arts and Sciences. So we have this really cool program called the Ampersand program. I got to do one, and it's a year-long class. And it's with a really small cohort. My class was only 12 people total. And we got really close over that time, and we got to go on really cool field trips. Mine was focused on St. Louis, so we were visiting all corners of St. Louis, which was really fun. I got really close with my professors, and I still keep in touch with a lot of my classmates in that first class, and it really helped me build that initial community as a first year student here at WashU, which was really cool. Because that was one thing that I was kind of worried about whenever I came here, but I loved my first year. It was really amazing.
Yeah, so I had a pretty similar experience to Daniel with my housing. I was also in a modern double, and I also chose my roommate before coming to WashU. I will say though, if you end up going with a random roommate, when you fill out the housing form, you'll get to do a questionnaire, and you can fill out all of your sorts of living preferences, so that when you do get matched with a random roommate, you can get matched with someone who has a similar living style to you. So yeah.
Morgan and Teddy, did either of you live in traditional housing?
I lived in
No.
Umrath, so I was also in a modern double, and I
I
also
was,
my roommate on Instagram.
and same story for me. But something that I want to add on to like this collection is how strong the residential communities are. So it sounds like we all lived in different ones, but I lived in Park Mud. We were the Park Mud Panthers. Our colors are black and red, really cool. Our motto was Peace, Love, Panthers. So it's really cool. It's kind of like a Hogwarts house where it doesn't like necessarily mean anything to which one, whatever you're in. But it's such a strong community. I always like to tell the story of we had 50 people or so on our floor every year. And at the beginning of the school year, we collected everybody's birthdays and we threw a birthday for every person on the floor. And there's supposed to be surprises, but they weren't really a surprise. And my birthday was pretty early, so I wasn't expecting much. But on my birthday, my friends got my mom's phone number and baked the cake that I have for my birthday every year, and also printed out 60 baby photos of me and scattered them throughout the hall. So there was some on the ceiling. I'm short, couldn't reach those. There was one in the oven. I was the only one who like baked or anything, so it was okay. There's one in my shower head. So people got creative. I only found like 50 of them, but the community was so, so strong, and I'm still friends with almost every single person on that floor today. I live with two of them now. And you get that community completely random. WashU, our awesome admissions officers know who to pick, including all of you. So it's really cool to see that community prosper, and I feel super fortunate to have had my start be in Park Mud and also just on the South 40.
Yeah, going off of that really quickly, the residential communities also like to have their own traditions. So I remember like intermittently throughout the semester, my residential advisors would put on little events for us just to kind of like let us blow off steam, but also get to know the people that we're living with. So one thing that I remember, I was in the Brookings residential community, and our mascot was a bee. And one of our traditions was called Brinner, or breakfast for dinner. So one night our RAs got together, they were in the common room and they were just like cooking up eggs and bacon and pancakes and things like that. And it was just a really fun event to kind of get together and get to know the people living in the residential hall with me.
Just to quickly echo what everyone said is living in your residential community is such a help for you your first year here. And I'd like to leave you guys with a little piece of advice because this helped me my first year just realizing everything because the transition to college is hard. You're probably living on your own for the first time, learning how to get your meals at the right time, do your own laundry, all of this different stuff. Or if you don't want to do your own laundry, we do have a laundry service run by students if you want to. It's called Washy Wash. But you're kind of living on your own for the first time, and that can be really daunting, and you don't know anyone or maybe a couple people from your hometown, but it can be hard. But what helped me is once I realized that every single person was in the exact same boat as me, I was fine. I was like, okay, all of these other people are looking for friends. All of these other people need someone to go to the Bear's Den and eat a meal with. I'm not alone. And actually, my first night living in my residential community, someone came knocking on my door, just knocking on everyone's door saying, hey, this is who I am. It's nice to meet you. Want to be friends? And they led us all out of Umrath and onto the swamp, which is the grassy area in the middle of the South 40, and created this huge hangout of all of the people in my residential hall and a bunch of others around the South 40. So it was a great way to meet people. And just if you shift your mindset to being excited and like, these people are doing the exact same thing as me, it's a lot easier of a transition. So please, just a little advice to help.
The residential community is so important, and it sounds like you've each had some really fantastic experiences on the 40 and not on the 40, but excited to hear some of that. I'm going to switch gears a little bit. Can any of you talk about any experiences you've had with the Center for Career Engagement, the types of resources they offer, what that support has looked like?
I can start since I'm a senior and I am employed. I've had many a great experience with the Center for Career Engagement, starting off with my first semester on campus, which was so great. We have a ton of different career coaches that you can just reach out to. None are off limits to you. And you can set up a meeting with them and they can help you with anything career related. I remember sitting down and thinking, I kind of know the industry that I want to go into, but I'm not fully sure. Can you help me out? And I took a bunch of different quizzes that they gave me that helped me figure out what specific industry or role that would be great for me. And I've been on the same path ever since, which is really awesome. The Center for Career Engagement has amazing resources, one of which is we actually have a new Center for Career Engagement building being built on campus. So that should be done in the next few years. I'm not sure when the date is. John may know. But that means that there will be a hub for everything career engagement, and you guys can go there and meet with anyone that you need, which is really awesome. But I also have used their resume software, which is called VMock, to create my resume. I've had mock interviews with the career coaches, which has been really helpful for interviewing for internships and post-grad jobs. I also have helped them out with peer editing for resumes and all of that. And I'm a huge proponent of their interview suites in Bower Hall, which is one of the Olin Business School buildings. They have a full interview suite that you can book. If you have an interview, you just put in the information and you've got a little room all to yourself with a professional background, a desk, a chair, a phone, anything that you could need. So wonderful experiences with the Center for Career Engagement. We've got some really great statistics coming out of there as well.
I'll add on just a little bit more to that. I think you just gave like pretty much the perfect answer. But I'll say personally, as someone who's just a sophomore coming in, last year, I was a little unsure on how to approach things, especially as an architecture student. It looks a little bit different for us. But just looking for general jobs to apply to, I see a question in the chat of what are possible campus jobs. I wanted to apply to a bunch of them, including this one right here. And I was like, dang, I really need help with my resume. Also, what is a cover letter? I have no idea what that is. So I went to the Career Center and they were super helpful, super nice, super understanding. And they helped me recraft what my resume could look like, the opportunities that I've had so far, how I can utilize them, how I can make a cover letter, anything like that. And they helped me land a bunch of jobs that I use part-time, including being a Bear Ambassador, which is what this is right here. We also give tours, which is a lot of fun. Being a Washington University Student Associate. Daniel and I were WUSAs, that's what we like to call them this past year, which are sophomores, which help with mentoring first years that are coming in, which is really cool. And those opportunities I got and was definitely helped by because the Center for Career Engagement was super active in making sure that I could get help, which is super sweet. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad that they can help you for this job too. Daniel, sorry, I cut you off.
I was just going to add on to that, like, Even if you're going into a field that isn't super popular or maybe it's a little bit more niche, like I know here at WashU, we don't have a lot of teacher education people, which is kind of sad, but also I love the little community that we have here at WashU for teacher certification students. You can go to them for pretty much any industry that you can imagine. They will help you do the research on how to get into the field, on how to get those first couple internships. And what's really cool is that they'll walk you like they'll hold your hand the entire step as you're applying to those first internships. Once you decide, okay, I want to spend my summer focusing on my field. So they help you even if you are in the most niche field that you can possibly imagine.
Another topic we're getting a lot of questions about is study abroad. Can any of you speak to study abroad opportunities here at WashU?
I have a feeling this is my question to answer. I don't know if any of the rest of you have studied abroad, but my junior spring, I was able to study abroad in Copenhagen, Denmark. Best experience of my life. If you have any desire to, I would totally push you to do it. It truly was the most amazing experience. I studied through the Olin Business School through our partnership with the Copenhagen Business School, which is one of the top business schools in all of Europe. And I went and I was on an 11-person program, but there was another arts and sciences program that also had students in Copenhagen. So I saw a lot of WashU while I was abroad, which was very nice to have a little piece of home. I took all classes. It was pass fail for me, which was awesome. But I really enjoyed it. And it was really cool to get a different school experience. And it taught me that I really love WashU and I definitely chose the right place. I really enjoyed my school and it allowed me to see kind of a bigger school environment. There were 21,000 students at the Copenhagen Business School, which was a lot. And most of my classes were 400-person lectures. You won't find that here at WashU. 400 is way above our highest class size that you have. So you'll get more personalized attention, which is really great. But it was really cool to get to learn from professors who are renowned from across the world. I also lived in a residential hall through the Copenhagen Business School, and there were people on exchange, as they called it, from all across the world. The person next to me was from South America. The person on the other side of me was from Germany, and my floor was just a mishmash of different people from different cultures and getting to learn about that, which was so cool. I also loved Copenhagen. I would totally recommend it. It's my new favorite place on the planet and just getting to learn and live in the city and create a whole different life for myself and have my routine was just so amazing. I am dying to go back. And also just the opportunity to get to live in a place where it's so easy to travel around and see different countries was so awesome. I went to over 10 different countries, over 15 different cities, and truly had the time of my life. So I'm always happy to answer any more specific questions about abroad, but I fear if I don't stop talking about it now, I never will.
Yeah, I can also speak about study abroad quickly. So I studied abroad this past summer. My program was about 5 weeks long, and I was in Rome, Italy. I studied at John Cabot University, which is an American university, but they also have a location in Rome. Um, there were 7 WashU students in this program in total. So I got to meet them beforehand during some sort of info session that we held here, and then reconnect with them in Rome during the program. So because I'm an engineer and the summer programs kind of had more limited options, and I knew that I wanted to take more engineering focused classes. So Rome was my only option, but I'm not gonna lie, it wasn't terrible. But similar to Morgan, I highly, highly recommend it. I think it's one of the best things I've ever done for myself. Even though my program was pretty short, I feel like I grew so much as a person. I got to meet so many cool people. Again, Rome and just Europe in general was super, super accessible. So I only had class 4 days a week, which gave me a 3-day weekend to go and travel around. And yeah, so I had a really good experience with that as well.
I think regardless of where it is that you ultimately decide to attend college, you should at least consider studying abroad during your 4 years. WashU does try to make it as easy as possible, offering many types of opportunities, semester, summer. You could do a spring break trip. And if you are studying abroad during the academic school year, you would also have your financial aid travel with you. So wherever it is you would pay to attend WashU, that's what you would pay for those study abroad experiences. Oh, next topic I have is research. What could any of you guys tell me about research experiences?
I can
Daniel's got it.
Great. I can start off. So I started research this year. I do research with one of my past professors in the history department. So I had him for class during my first semester here at WashU, and I talked with him during office hours, during that class time of how I was interested in getting involved in research, but I wasn't entirely sure on like how the process net worked, and I was hoping that he could help me. And then he was just like, "Hey, I actually have an open position." So then I started research with him. But really, what is amazing about research here on campus is that one, it's in a part for every single major or every program. Like every single one of our faculty members does a research project. Maybe they're taking a like short break, but they'll be doing something soon. So you can always connect with our faculty members to get started on research, as well as they have a lot of resources if you want to explore your own opportunities. So after I'm done working with my professor, I'm hoping to start my own research project through the education department, studying like rural institutions and how they interact with their communities. And I've already been talking with like the Office of Undergraduate Research. I've been talking with professors to help sponsor me. I've been doing all these other things to really get that head start on it, even though I do have another 2 years to kind of flesh out the project a little bit more. But they really want to make sure that it is as accessible as possible, and they're really flexible when it comes to working around your schedules. Like I have a couple friends who are sophomores, who are also pre-med, and they go to the medical campus a couple times a week, but they build it around their schedule and what times work for them. So sometimes that's the weekend, sometimes that's the afternoons when they don't have class. But everyone understands that you're a student first and a researcher second, which is really nice when you are already have a very busy schedule.
Yeah, to definitely echo that, research is really cool at WashU, especially because we have so many programs, and like Daniel said, it's in pretty much every academic division. So I have done research in architecture, which I think is really cool. I didn't know that was an opportunity just generally before I came to university. But my first semester studio professor does a lot of research in concrete making and sustainable concrete making. So I asked him at the end of my first year semester, I was like, hey, I'd really like to help you out. I think this could be really cool. And he was like, sure, let's totally do it. So over the summer, I stayed as an summer admissions intern with Daniel as well. And on the weekends, I would drive out to a research center, which is like 30 minutes out on the border of Missouri and Illinois, and help my professor build a giant concrete structure, kind of like reverse Legos, which is really cool. So a lot of like shoveling gravel, and also like casting concrete and sanding concrete molds. So very hands-on, very tactile. And at the end of the project, it got unveiled in October. I was able to go to the unveiling, talk with my professor about it, and he put my name on like one of the list of people that helped out on the project. So my name is now on a building, which is crazy to me. But it's really cool what research can look like at WashU. I didn't have any capacity or idea that I could do that, but I'm super fortunate for it. And then also, probably my senior year fall, for public health and society, one of the requirements of the major is to do an APEX, which is another research program, just making sure that you're interning for it. So I will be doing public health research built into my second major at some point during my college career as well. So research is a huge portion of what I like to do at WashU just as a student. I feel like I learn so much, especially when it's a different form of research. And there's just so many opportunities that are built in for you, or just if you ask.
I haven't personally participated in research, but I've seen my friends have a lot of good experience with it. So one of my friends actually participated in a summer research internship here last summer. And then he has continued working with that lab and professor throughout the school year. And currently he is in the process of working with his lab, and they are writing a paper, and his name gets to go on the paper with that. So that's a really cool opportunity. And then just in general, I feel like doing research really gives you a chance to get your hands dirty, and kind of learn on the job and gain skills that you might not get just by sitting in a lecture hall.
Thank you all for speaking on that, and thanks for giving some really great examples of the way that research shows up at WashU. Because I find that a lot of students think, oh, research, I have to be in a lab. I must be in a laboratory setting. You can do that at WashU. They exist all over. We got them everywhere here. If you're thinking med school down the line, many of our students may end up volunteering, shadowing, doing that research with our own medical school, which is about a 3 to 5 minute train ride from the undergraduate campus. And that's alongside the access that you would have to your pre-med advisor, that could ultimately help with MCAT preparation, prepping your applications, prepping the interview for applying and ultimately going to and through medical school. I'm gonna come back more towards kind of that social experience for you all at WashU. First, for our visitors who are coming for a bear day, what is something that you think they absolutely should do? They should go see, they should eat, they should experience in St. Louis, or maybe just at WashU to get a strong sense of what's going on here?
I can start off. I'm a little biased personally, but I would totally take advantage of the trolley tour while you're here. Best thing ever. Daniel and I both got to tour guide on the trolley. They gave us a mic and headset, and we sat at the front. And it takes you, not only is it fun to go on a 30-minute trolley ride, but it also takes you through, honestly, one of the gems, in my opinion, of St. Louis, which is Forest Park. Forest Park is 1,300 acres large, which is 500 acres larger than Central Park. And we've got a ton of free things to do, which is a college student's dream, honestly. And you get to learn all about it. And especially April is such a nice time in St. Louis. So hopefully you get wonderful weather. And it's just a nice way to see the park. Some of my favorite St. Louis activities are in the park. One of my favorites is the St. Louis Zoo. The absolute best. Admission is totally free. And if you're looking for a way to fill your day, I would absolutely recommend to go to the zoo. It's very high up on lists for conservation as well. So that's really great to support a zoo who has such great intentions. We also have the St. Louis Art Museum, which is also free. There are different exhibits that are ticketed, but if you come to a bear day that is on a Friday, we have free admission Friday. So you can go and see those exhibits from 10 a.m. to 9 p.m., I believe. My favorite thing that is outside of the St. Louis Art Museum actually is Art Hill, which is just a gorgeous little hill. It's the best place to go sledding in the winter, in my opinion. I've been here for 4 years. I've tried them all out. It's also just a great place to go picnicking with your friends. Also, there are so many different running trails around there. I love to go on walks with my friends there. It also looks out on some of the water. We've got a boathouse where you can go and rent pedal boats or stand-up paddle boards, which is also really fun. We have pickleball courts and tennis courts. We have our own outdoor theater called the Muni that just won awards, actually. If you're here for the summer, I would totally recommend going to see a show. It's free in the summer for the last, I believe, 15 or 9 to 15 rows, which is really awesome. So I would definitely recommend checking out Forest Park. Those are only just a few of the amenities in there, but the trolley tour gives you a glimpse of everything. So I would totally recommend that.
I'm gonna shout out just a couple of food places that I've been going to since I was a kid. There is the St. Louis staple, which is Ted Drew's. It is a frozen custard place. It is absolutely amazing. If you come to a Bear Day, there is a chance that you will get free Ted Drew's from us. But we have some boring flavors. We only have chocolate, vanilla, and strawberry. When they have all these amazing flavors, like the Blue Note, we have all these wow, they're all leaving my head right as I'm wanting to talk about it. Like I think there's one that's like the Muddy Mississippi. I don't know, there's a lot of fun ones that are all St. Louis themed. I love going there with my family. We always went whenever I was a kid, and we'd sit in like the back of our cars with like the back open, and we would just sit there and eat frozen custard, which was really amazing. I also highly recommend checking out Gus's Pretzels if you want a more like salty treat. They are so good, and you get to watch them make it like right there. It is like the best of both worlds where you get to go get Ted Drew's, the sweetest thing ever, and it is wonderful, and then just balance it out with some pretzels. So I recommend both of those things for like true St. Louis staples. Also toasted ravioli.
I'll toss out there sports. There's so many cool things happening around WashU, including on campus. Our sports teams are really, really talented, and it's really fun to watch them prosper. I saw a question earlier, like asking if students attend sports, and they do. Because we have so many things going on, people might not assume that, but we love showing up for every student group, including and especially our sports groups. Shout out Sean Zay. She's on WashU Swim and Dive. And she just went to nationals, which is really cool. She's really talented. And also outside of WashU sports, we've got a lot of cool stadiums and sports that happen around St. Louis. I love going to Cardinals games. It's super cheap. You can take the free metro to go over there, which is super nice. And I'll be there this weekend volunteering. But going to a Cards game is something that I would highly recommend if they've got one going on for your Bear Day, because it's just a beautiful skyline. The game is a lot of fun. Cardinals aren't fantastic, but hey, it's still a baseball game, so it should be a good time. So I highly recommend just exploring St. Louis, and especially on the sports side, I recommend a Cardinals game.
Yeah, another things to hit in that area where the stadium is in downtown. Obviously the St. Louis Arch. I think the cherry blossom trees there are gonna start blooming soon, so that's very, very beautiful. And then we also have the City Foundry over there, which is basically just like a giant food hall. I haven't been there, but I need to go. But I've heard a lot of good things about it. So yeah, just another plug there.
I can't believe you've not been to the Foundry. You absolutely should go to the Foundry. It is a massive food hall. There's like an indoor two-story mini golf place. There's a lot going on at the Foundry and a lot going on around our campus, all that and more if you come for one of our Bear Days. So Teddy, thanks for, bringing up this topic of sports. That was one of the areas I was going to go into next, was the ways that you guys are staying busy on campus and getting involved. So what was it like finding groups? Like, how was that process like, thinking back to your first year, getting involved in those groups? Could you also, can any of you speak specifically to sorority and fraternity life on campus, how you can get involved, how that shows up on campus as well?
Yeah, I can start this one. So as Teddy mentioned, I am on the varsity swim and dive team. So when I was in the college admissions process, I was also in the process of getting recruited by the coach of this team. So that is a little bit different than how you would try to find like a club or another student group on campus. But being able to come into WashU with that team behind me, was made the transition a lot easier than I anticipated, just because I was already coming in with that little community. What else was I gonna say? Sorry, what other questions did you ask?
Sorority and fraternity life on campus, how does that
Okay.
show up? What does involvement look like?
I can take that question. I am involved in a social sorority on campus, and it has honestly been one of my favorite parts of being here at WashU and my campus community. It is definitely a presence, not a pressure. About 18% of our students on campus are involved in sorority and fraternity life, so you definitely don't have to, but if it's something that you want to try out, you are more than welcome to. I always tell people to maybe just join recruitment. It's no strings attached. And when I went through it, I was like, you know what? I don't know if I'm going to join a sorority, but it's a great way to meet upperclassmen. And I had such a fun time going through it. And I ended up joining a sorority. I actually held an executive position and did recruitment for my sorority my sophomore year. And I found my people there. And it was absolutely the best decision that I made my first year on campus. I've had a wonderful time getting to know my family, my bigs and my littles, and all of that, and just doing fun events and just having a community to belong to. But I don't think it's a necessary thing. What I always say is that I think You find your different communities that you feel like you belong in on campus. And for some people, that may be a sorority or fraternity, or that may be a different organization. It could be the swim and dive team. It could be a pre-professional fraternity, like a business fraternity or a pre-health fraternity. Or maybe it is the pickleball club, or maybe it's the butter churning club. There are tons of different places that you can join to have that kind of community where you feel like you belong, not necessarily sorority and fraternity life. For me, it's one of my places that I feel like I belong, but it's not for everyone. So I definitely recommend maybe looking into it if it's something that interests you, but definitely no pressure to do it at all. And I'm sure someone else wants to talk about the club fair, but you can learn about all of our different organizations there if someone wants to take that.
Yeah, I'll take that on and I'll echo some things that you just said. So yeah, sorority and fraternity life doesn't have to look like how you think it does. Like at most schools, what's really nice about it is that part of that percentage, that 18%, isn't strictly social. So like Morgan said, we have pre-professional, we have pre-health ones. So I'm an architecture student, but I'm in a pre-health fraternity, pre-professional. So that's really cool. I get a lot of opportunities professionally because I'm in that organization. And it doesn't look like a normal fraternity that you'd assume. It has everybody in it, which is really awesome. And then also, I'd like to say, even though I'm doing a lot of stuff academically, there's so many clubs that you can get involved in. We have over 400 on campus, which is crazy, like including the Butter Churning Club, which I believe has over 100 members on their Mugo, which is ridiculous and kind of awesome. But you can join as much. Oh, Morgan's one of them. That's cool. There's so many things you can join. Like John mentioned earlier, we have 12 or 13 acapella groups on campus. I'm in one of them, which is a lot of fun. That's something that I joined in my first year. I wasn't expecting to join one, but I did, and it's one of the best decisions I've made. Our tradition is to wear flannels and silly ties, and we run around stage. And we have on Graham Chapel, which is one of my favorite building on campus. We perform every year, and it holds 750 people, and we pack it out every year, which is crazy, but it's really cool. And I'm also a part of Club Rugby. Club Rugby is a really fun, different facet of sports. So we've got our varsity teams, and then we've got our club teams, and we have intramural teams. So you can join a sport in any serious nature that you'd like to. I'm going to an intramural volleyball game right after this, which should be a lot of fun. So you can take them as serious or as not serious as you like to. 80% of our students are involved in some form of athletic, which is really fun. It's really cool and really easy to get involved in something athletic. And yeah, everything's just a lot of fun. There's always a lot going on, and our club fair is super big. It happens at the beginning of every semester, and it is the most amount of paper you will ever receive in your life. So many QR codes. I brought two folders, and they would fill to the brim. It was crazy. I think the environmental club was not very happy with the things that went down during that event. But it's super, super fun. It's super easy to get involved in anything and find your niche. Or even like John said, you can create your niche. If you want to make a rival butter churning club, if you have a president and a treasurer and 10 members, go for it and see who wins. Yeah.
There is no better arm workout than one that ends with butter. So, hey, join the butter turning club. I'm not a part of it, um, but you probably should consider it. Another question that I have for you all, what's your week look like? Like in terms of your classes, do you find that you pretty regularly have to have class Monday through Friday? Have you had any semesters where you've been able to knock a Friday off or anything?
Yeah, so right now, all of my classes are 80 minutes long. We have classes that are 50 minutes long or 80 minutes long. The 50-minute classes tend to meet 3 times a week, and then the 80 minutes meet twice a week. So right now, I have class Monday through Thursday, and then no class on Friday, which is really nice. It's also cool because when you register for classes, you get to build your own schedule. So you can choose timings for classes and things that work for your preferences.
I'll just like hop on and also I unfortunately have yet to have a semester where I have not had a class on Friday. Most of the time though, it's just one class and it's 50 minutes long and it's typically on a subject that I really enjoy. So it's like I don't complain much. But I do know that like my next semester, I do get the wonderful luxury of not having any classes on Friday. And what's really cool is that I'm going to actually be spending my Fridays well, I'll be in a class, but I won't be a student. I'll be actually observing as part of my teacher certification program. But most of the time, I have couple 15-minute classes that happen Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And then I tend to fill up my Tuesday and Thursday with some 80-minute ones. But I like to build my schedule to where I start at 10 a.m. and then I'm done by like 3. And so then I have all my afternoon or like my late afternoon and my evening just to myself. I'll do a little bit of homework and then I'll spend a lot of time hanging out with friends, going on walks around campus, going to some like club activities, things like that, to where like our weeks are not really dominated by academics. You do have a really strong school and life balance, which I really love as a busy student.
Yes, definitely. Going to echo off of Daniel, it's not like some people are able to make it so that they can knock Fridays off, some people can't. One thing that Olin's really good about is keeping their classes to meet 2 times a week for 80 minutes each, on either Monday and Wednesday or Tuesday and Thursday. So most of my college experience, I was able to knock the Friday off. Unfortunately, this semester I was not able to, but it's okay because I get to see Daniel's face every Friday at 10 a.m. in macroeconomics and it's awesome. And it's only 50 minutes, so that's the entire amount of time I am in class on a Friday, which is pretty awesome. But most semesters of college, I was able to not have class on a Friday, which was really awesome. The rest of my week, my weeks usually. I try to keep my classes earlier in the morning, starting at 10 a.m. though. I try not to do any 8:30s or 9 a.m.s, but usually 10 a.m. done by either 2:20 or 1 p.m., which leaves ample time for a lunch break, get to see friends. On Wednesdays, I spend my days at Wellbeing Wednesday, where you get to meet local St. Louis vendors. Like today, I got free chai, and they were selling bigger tins of chai from a local business. I got to meet with a bunch of organizations on campus that give out free goodies. And for meeting with all of these different vendors, I got free lemonade from a truck that was selling lattes and lemonade. Would highly recommend. Just another thing that WashU does for its students. So always taking advantage of those on-campus traditions. But I love filling my weeks otherwise with different things. Obviously, I'm taking a lighter class load, so I have a little extra time to do things. So I'm volunteering at a local pet adoption shelter in Brentwood, which is very close to campus. I have time to hang out with my friends, go on walks in my beloved Forest Park, try new restaurants. All of those fun things do work for Bear ambassadors. Participate in the clubs that I'm a part of, which is really awesome. But the one thing that you may find that you do have on Fridays is what we call a subsection. So for some of our classes, we have these required extra meeting times called a subsection that's usually led by a teaching assistant. All of our actual lecture class meeting times are taught by professors, but we have these extra subsections that are taught by a TA. And what it is a 50-minute session for this class that essentially is like a mandated office hours. Sometimes they have a structure to them and you do extra problems or work through different content that you did throughout the week just to make sure that you're digesting it. Or it's time for you to talk to the TAs, get to know them, ask them for help on any of the homework or any of the content that you weren't fully sure of. So while it does keep you to a classroom on Friday, it's only for 50 minutes and it's also really helpful and honestly was one of the biggest helps to me, especially adjusting to college life and lecture style classes. It really helped me adjust in the academics.
And I'll go last, short and sweet. My schedule looks a little bit different as a Sandfox student. So for architecture, we have really long studios. So on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I have my architecture studio for 4 hours, 1 to 5:30, at every Tuesday and Thursday, which is fun. It's a really nice time to really get involved in your studio and your classes. It's one professor and usually around 10 students. So I have a conversation with my professor every single week on whatever we're designing. Like right now, we're working on fire stations. So I was talking about my fire station design and the type of tile that I should maybe craft or digitally fabricate. And then the rest of my week, I kind of have it scheduled and organized for my Tuesdays and Thursdays to be strictly architecture classes, and then my Monday, Wednesday, Friday to be my public health courses. So when you're going through that designing your schedule process, you talk with your advisor about how you work on making what your schedule can be. And also if you're looking to double major, how you can fit different things into your schedule, especially as somebody who's, again, double majoring in two different divisions. Sometimes things don't align. So figuring out how to plan for that and how you can kind of work and fix that. And another thing I will say is I do prefer an early day. I have an 8:30 every single day this semester, and I love it. It really gets me going every week, and my Monday, Wednesday, Friday all end before noon, which is super sweet. So figuring out how you want to make your schedule is super feasible and super easy. There's many people that are willing to help you, and as you can see, all of our schedules are drastically different. So
They're drastically different, but I think that you all have a great example of how WashU students are busy, but they're pretty balanced in that. You're not putting all your eggs in one basket or going too hard in one area. I want to thank the four of you for joining me tonight on this webinar. I want to thank our attendees for joining us to hear a little bit more about your experiences, a little bit more about life at WashU. Thanks for submitting all of these questions that we certainly were not able to get through all of them. Please, please, please reach out to us via email. We'll send a follow-up as well, so we can make sure that you do get those questions answered. I would love to end if the four of you could just very quickly give me your why wash you.
I can start. Or Teddy, do you want to go?
uh,
You
sure, I'll
got
go
it,
first.
Teddy.
Okay. So I originally chose WashU just for how strong the architecture program was and how I knew that if I wasn't sure that was what I wanted to do, I could switch into another academic division because we have so much flexibility. But once I got here, I immediately felt comfortable. Moving from New Jersey to Missouri was a choice that I made. And I'm super glad that I made it because I've picked up a second major. I've picked up other part-time campus jobs. I've joined clubs that I could have never dreamed to have the opportunity to. I think I've become a better person, and a better worker because I am here at WashU, and I could not recommend this university more, because I've definitely changed as a person for the better because I'm here.
Beautiful, Teddy. Why WashU? I actually came to tour WashU when I was a sophomore in high school, about a week before COVID hit, so I got really lucky. Thank God I did, and I came and toured so early. I was really confused as to why I was doing this, and I said to my parents, "Why are we already on a college tour? I'm a sophomore. I'm so confused." And they said, this is what a college campus should look like. We want this to be your benchmark. And I just remember walking around and being totally in awe. If you have had the privilege of visiting campus, you understand what I'm talking about. It truly is the most beautiful place that we get to live and learn every single day. And I pinch myself every time I walk around. I always joke that my camera roll is full of photos of campus that I try to make aesthetically pleasing. Obviously, because I don't have much time left. But WashU, other than that, really just clicked my bo all of my boxes. I knew I wanted a mid-sized school, and WashU fit that perfectly. I knew that I wanted a business program, and Olin is one of the top business programs in the country, which is really awesome. But I also knew I wanted to study psychology, and we've got a great psychology program here, especially in memory studies, which is something I was really interested in. But I also was concerned that I wasn't going to want to continue doing what I had come in as. I was like, I've never taken a business class before. Maybe I'm going to want to switch out of that. And I wanted a place that would not only allow me to do so, but help me do that and encourage interdisciplinary study, which I can 1000% say is true about WashU. It's how I was able to add my second major in marketing. It's how I'm able to have a minor in the College of Arts and Sciences. They really push that as a thing. If you want to do, like, study whatever you can, we really want to encourage interdisciplinary study. But I just remember walking around campus, and I remember walking into Bauer Hall and seeing all of the people studying, and I was like, I want to go and sit with them and study with them, which who says that? I was like, I'm crazy. And my dream came true, luckily. And the people here are truly something else. I don't know how admissions does it, but they admit the smartest and kindest people. I don't think I've met a mean person here. I think I can truly say that, which is something to be said for this campus. And I think the collaboration aspect versus competitiveness is something so unique to WashU. A school that comes with this prestige, you usually expect to have a level of competition, but it really doesn't. The student body here is so collaborative. Everyone just wants to see you succeed and make sure that you are understanding the content and can do your very best, not only in your academics, but in life. So, WashU, I had high expectations, but it exceeded every single one of them. And I am very sad to be graduating, if you can't tell.
So when I was going through my college admissions process, WashU wasn't really on my radar. I was in Columbia, Missouri for a sporting event and just randomly decided to drive down to St. Louis to visit. And leaving that visit, I said to my parents, I need to go to WashU. Like that's my number one. I felt some sort of connection leaving that day, and I knew that I wanted to come to WashU. So very similar to what Morgan said, being here, you really feel like excellence is a community and not a competition. I have loved being in a place where curiosity is taken very seriously, and people genuinely want to see each other succeed. I think it's really special to be surrounded by people who are so curious and passionate about what they do. Um, and I feel like since being here, I've really gotten the chance to push myself out of my comfort zone. And that's opened so many doors for me. I've exceeded my own expectations, and I've achieved so many things that I couldn't have even imagined.
So I grew up in a small town. Everyone knew everyone, and then my mom's a principal in that small town, so even more people knew me, and I kind of wanted that same like sort of community where everything's tight knit, but I wanted a fresh start because it felt like everyone had like notions of who I was before I'd even finished growing up. Fun fact, Washu has the exact same population as my hometown, so it does feel like I never left sometimes. But genuinely, I picked here because one, our campus is absolutely gorgeous. I also have to pinch myself whenever I'm walking around sometimes because I'm just like, oh my gosh, the ginkgo trees are all yellow and it is absolutely gorgeous. And I just want to take photos, but I need to go to class and I'm sad. But I genuinely love it here. There's a lot of amazing research opportunities. That was like the big thing that decided WashU for me was they make research so accessible no matter what you're studying, and it's from the get-go. So I knew that I wanted to do research for my first semester here, and I'm able to do it as a sophomore, which is amazing. Getting to do my own program after I finish working with my professor that I'm working with right now. And just genuinely, everyone here is so sweet. We like to say that you'll get like 2 degrees at least, which one is in the program that you choose, and the other one is in Midwest hospitality because Midwesterners are so sweet. No matter where you go on our campus, if you ever come to visit us, there will be a student that'll like hold the door open for you. If you're just like, I have no idea where this building is, you can ask pretty much anyone and they'll direct you. And my classes are the most collaborative places that I've ever been in. Even though we're all studying completely different things, we're all fascinated, we're all intrigued, we're all really passionate about what we're doing in our classes. And I do agree that it is like one of those schools that you would expect to be extremely competitive, and it's not in the slightest, which I absolutely adore about WashU.
Thanks again. I'd love to hear your why. It's one of my favorite questions to ask of you all. Um, I've had fun tonight. I hope you've had fun tonight. Thank you again for everyone who joined us this evening. Please reach out with any of those remaining questions that you have. We hope to see you on campus this spring and absolutely hope to see you again on campus later this fall. But with that, I wish you a good night, a good day, a good evening, wherever it is you're joining tonight or today from in the world. Take care and be safe. Bye, y'all.